G'day guys and girls, and welcome back to another edition of Damo's Team Talk. Thanks so much for joining us, and just thought I'd mix it up and release, well, I guess this mini episode, as we're referring to them as, a little bit earlier, before our weekly episode proper, just to see if there's a little bit more traction. I know coming out of the weekend, everyone is hungry for some videos on people's teams and an early insight into the types of trades and strategies that we're going to be adopting heading into the next round. Before we delve into all things my team, of course, as I've said ad nauseum, Liam and I are trying to hit the 1K subscriber mark here on YouTube. So if you can help us on our way and catapult us towards that mark by subscribing, it would be very much appreciated. So with that out of the way, let's delve into my team and see how we went on the weekend. So there we have it. Scored 2,303 for the weekend, which is actually my highest score for the season to date. It's kind of hasn't been up to expectations, but I feel as though week on week I am climbing the ranks, which is good to see. So at least I'm tracking in the right direction. You'll see there I climbed 8,848 spots to now sit 23,969. In terms of trades, I'll delve into it in a moment, but probably used up maybe 1 to 2 trades ahead of what I was hoping to do. A couple of corrections there early on, and jumping onto a couple of cash cows, which I think is a good strategy in terms of those guys that you've missed out on. Jumping on them because you, at the end of the day, need cash in order to upgrade the rest of your team. So I jumped on a couple of cash cows on the weekend, actually. So I wouldn't have normally done that, considering both guys had gone up in price. But as I delved into last week's Damo's Team Talk, you would have heard me say that I was jumping off cash cows that were sort of coming to a halt and jumping onto a couple more that I was seeing that were going to make us a bit more cash and bridge that gap, as I referred to last week, between, say, a mid-pricer, upgrading a mid-pricer to a primo. So that probably explains the extra sort of 1 to 2 trades that I've used up to this point that I was kind of hoping not to, but I think it's going to pay off longer term. So all in all, not a bad scenario to be in. So let's have a look at my team. Alrighty, so there we have it. So last week, in terms of trades, I ended up trading... it was Liam Jones. I'll just flick across here. I think you can see that on the bottom right-hand side there. Ended up doing what I'm doing now, and I spoke about last week, is I'm now getting into the rhythm over the next 2 to 3 weeks at least, where I'm doing a double downgrade and an upgrade. And then at the end of that, it actually gives me a little bit of around about 50 to 70K in the bank to then sort of springboard me into the next upgrade for the following week. So I've kind of got into that routine now, and that's where I'm at the moment. So you'll see there I traded out Alwyn Davey Jr., who unfortunately was rested, and I probably could have kept him for a little bit longer. But again, as I referred to just before, I wanted to jump on some cash cows that I thought had a really good opportunity to make us cash first and foremost, but actually had a really good role in the case of Samson Ryan there. You'll see I brought him in at the expense of Davey. So ended up doing a bit of a DPP switch there, brought Ryan into the forward line, and Davey went out. So that banked me a little bit of cash. I was hoping obviously to do a bit more, but again, looking longer term as to the extra cash that could be made by jumping on Ryan now. Also traded out Liam Jones. I was kind of a bit 50-50 on this one. Traded him to Michelini. Michelini was kind of... I looked at his breakdown, and I was lucky enough that he actually made as much as what I predicted that JVR was going to make, which is around about the 50K. So I think he around about made... I think it was about 3 to 4, maybe 5K less than what JVR did. So in terms of jumping on Michelini, I wasn't really losing anything in terms of cash generation. I was really worried about JVR's job security. Probably helped on the weekend that Ben Brown, again, was a late out due to that back issue. Unknown as to whether or not he's going to come in this weekend, but aside from that, the imminent return of Max Gawn really does put the worry in my mind when it came to JVR. So put him aside and ended up prioritising Ryan. So it was either weighing up between JVR and Ryan. Went for Ryan because of that I guess, pleasing role as the first ruck, without Nank being there and with Ivan Soldo still injured. So Michelini came in off the back of Jones. Jones, as is always the case when you trade someone out, had an absolute bloody blinder. I think he made about 28 points more than what Michelini did, roughly from memory. So he didn't really lose out too much in terms of points on field. But even so, Jones's cash generation has now pretty much come to a halt unless he continues on with scoring, 80s, 90s, and that sort of stuff. But again, aside from the cash generation, I don't feel comfortable in fielding Jones every single week. As we've seen in the past couple of weeks, you can score 40, 50, and then jump up to an 80 or 90 odd, which that, deviation in his score is not good enough, especially in head-to-heads and leagues. I am still going for overall as well, so it kind of is much of a muchness, but when you're trying to sort of maximise points on field, I think Michelini will be able to help with that as well as making more bank. And then the last trade I did was an upgrade of Setterfield, the Setter Goat, set and forget a field as we call him here on SuperCoach Edge. Ended up upgrading him to Stewart, so I was super happy with that. Stewart, as you'll see here, he banged out, where are we? A 135, which Liam and I were delving into it last week, in last week's main episode, where, a lot of people were probably weighing up Stewart and weighing up Dawson. Dawson came out and had an absolute blinder, no doubt about that. But we emphasised the value aspect when it came to Tom Stewart. And you're saving around about 50k, and you're getting a similar, if not the same output, which I think will continue over the course of the season. So I think that extra 50k will really help us with upgrading in primos that have fallen over the next few weeks. So happy with those trades. Did end up keeping Will Day, of course. I think I was of the belief that a lot of people would probably trade him out, considering he was out for 2 weeks, would allow me to keep him as a little bit of a pod. And the fact that he was getting that midfield defensive DPP really gave an extra string to the bow when it came to Day. So I think he's going to become valuable down the track. I see him still on the cusp of potentially being a keeper in defense. So I'm going to keep him on the basis of that. And if I do need to upgrade him, it's going to be towards the back end of the season. So again, talking about him last week, loved his role, loved the fact that he's getting bulk CBAs and is converting to bulk points as well. So super happy to have him. Disappointed that he's suspended for 2 weeks. I was hoping that it would be downgraded to 1. So classic AFL, kicking us in the arse when we least needed it. But, in benching Day, meant that I had to field Wilmot, and he scored a 68. So talk about him first up. Was relatively happy with that. I think between 50 and 60k was kind of what I was expecting. To score close to 70 is a bonus. So super happy with him. Dacos, he is an absolute superstar. What can you say? 30 to 40 disposals week on week, untaggable, and opposition coaches just refuse to do so. So that works well for us owners. As I spoke of, Tom Stewart, 135, really good. It's funny as well because his break-even's still 121. So if you did miss out on him, it's not the end of the world. I'd be looking to bring him in if you don't have him. It's a bit of a blessing in disguise. He's still got that 92 in his rolling average, which means that his break-even still stays relatively high. Plays the Swans this weekend, and he scored 105, 114, and 103 over his past 3. So realistically could, surpass that 121, considering that he had the 135, albeit against West Coast on the weekend. But he's a superstar, so get him in if you can. Jinby, unfortunate that he was subbed on the weekend. I think he copped a poke in the eye, unfortunately. But aside from that, I think he was going to be subbed anyway. It was spoken during the week that he was due for a rest, so I was pretty surprised that he was, but pleased also that he took his spot on the weekend. But yeah, he was subbed, I think, just due to management because he's slowing down, needs a little bit of a rest. He's a youngster, despite the fact that he's playing as if he's been in the system for quite a while. So he's made a bit of bank at the moment, and he is, unfortunately, one that I'm looking to use as a bit of a stepping stone or downgrade to another cash cow, just because his break-even now is 81 off the back of his last 2 weeks' scores of 40 and 51. So unfortunate because he is an absolute rising star in the making, this bloke. So I'll speak to him more a little bit later. Michelini, spoke about him. He did end up making 47k on the dot, and he is projected to go up another 29.7k with a break-even of 5 on this weekend. So hopefully he can score around about 60 to 70 odd and make us close to 30k. That'll mean that we've made, what's that, close to 80k or thereabouts off the back of 2 weeks of owning him. So the reason I brought him in, as well as you'll see down here, Samson Ryan, as I spoke to before, using him as a bit of a cash cow stepping stone before the weekend. It didn't look as though there were many cash cows on the horizon. So happy enough to use a trade, at the expense of, I guess, making 80k or thereabouts. So may even hold him for a little bit longer, depending on how he scores this weekend. Faces the Hawks as well, so soft opposition, could score above expectations. So hopefully he can. Connor McKenna, he started the game like absolute shit, and he actually turned it on late in the game, ended up scoring 55. Not the end of the world. Everyone that owns him is pretty much fielding him, so it kind of negates any downside there. Spoke of Wilmot there. Thumbs up for him, still making us bulk cash. His break-even's 23. And projected to make another 17k or thereabouts. So looking to hold him for as long as possible, really, because he's probably got the biggest job security of the sort of younger type rookies or cash cows. Lockie Cowan, he's coming to a little bit of a halt in terms of his cash generation. Scored 42 on the weekend. His break-even's now 22. Can still make his cash, but might be a slow burn. But even having said that, like Wilmot, it's good to have him on the bench as a bit of cover. Rory Laird, He's bouncing back nicely for us owners. Scored a 135. Ended up locking in his VC score first up. So I was super happy with that. Bont, again, going from strength to strength. Happy to have him on my side this year. Really, really nice production. LDU was down on the weekend. Didn't have any tag at all either, which was a little bit disappointing. But I think the fact that North themselves, they were just absolutely smashed by Brisbane across the park meant that, LDU wasn't immune. Ended up scoring the 90. If you don't have him, unfortunate for me and other owners out there, his break-even has now risen to 152. So you could probably wait a week or thereabouts if you wanted to jump on him. But I still see him as a keeper despite that, and I think he'll bounce back nicely. Tom Green, he's a little bit of a worry. Obviously, news about him being under the spotlight with the MRO. And potentially being suspended. I mean, it's kind of the in thing at the moment with AFL, classic with them. It's almost they go through trends, and the trend at the moment is rubbing out guys who are tackling. And I don't know what he was expected to do. He was tackling a player that was stationary. The umpires have a massive issue with not blowing the whistle quick enough, so they end up, the player feels like they're forced to drag the player to the ground. And I mean, with I think it was Ward, he was stationary, had the ball. Don't know what Tom Green was expected to do. What, just stand there and cuddle him? Yeah, could have maybe whispered, sweet nothings into his ear, that sort of thing. But hopefully he can escape suspension. Goulden, 88, a little bit down on production, but not the end of the world. Plugging some holes in the midfield for me after starting up forward. Hopper, he's hitting his straps now. Super happy with him. Made 44.5k on the weekend and projected to make, at least over the next couple of weeks, close to 50k, and we'll surpass the 50k mark hopefully over the next 3 weeks or thereabouts, and look to cash him into a genuine primo. And he is someone that I'm looking to use as a stepping stone to Clary Oliver, that pink sweaty pig, as you like to call him. Ashcroft, going from strength to strength, not much to say about him, still making us cash. Constable, playing his role really as a non-playing player, able to loop in one of these guys. I chose the right option with Philippou on the weekend. Ended up paying dividends with 67. Darcy played really well, hitting his straps. Glad I kept hold of him because he was on the cusp of getting the arse and not holding the door for me. He was about to be out the door, so happy with his bounce back. Marshall was expecting a little bit of a higher score because he pretty much faced no ruckman at the Pies. But still, 123, nothing to be too displeased about. Samson Ryan, spoke of him already, made us a little bit of cash on the weekend, was hoping for a higher score, but he was sharing the ruck with Miller, I think his name is, of the Tigs. And he's still going to go up in cash, but I need a bit of a higher score, closer to that 72, which I was hoping for him to really make us some cash. So hopefully that continues, but aside from that, the fact that I've got him as a bit of ruck cover as well, I'm happy enough to have him in my side for that alone, and Wits owners will know all about that. Josh Dunkley, keeper, what can you say, 133, super nice. Taranto, 115, again, thumbs up. Rosie had a little bit of a slow start, ended up bouncing back to finish with 93. Jay-Z and Sheasel both getting defensive forward eligibility. So I think one of those guys I'll probably throw back into defense. Don't know if it'll be this week. Could still do it with Will Day out. Will really help me there. Madden, who I ended up using as a bit of a loophole option, and ended up screening the score of Chandler first up with 56. And I thought Green, given what he'd scored to start the season, with 33, 49, 51. I was worried that he wasn't going to be able to surpass the 56. To his credit, he actually did that and scored his highest score of the season with 76. So, yeah, but I think I'm just more so happy with the fact that he's made us 40.5K on this, the week just gone, and projected to make another 30K or thereabouts with a negative 15 break even. So, nice cash cow on the bench. And, yeah, ended up claiming Chandler's score of 56. Went up another 26.6K. His break-even is slowly climbing up there. He's 12.4K. But at the moment, he's made us 155.5K. So he's done his role, and even more so, especially for those other rookies that I've had to cull a little bit early, like Alwyn Davey. The fact that he's making above 150K kind of makes up for chopping someone like an Alwyn Davey. So you got to... Well, that's kind of what I do anyway. I keep that in mind in terms of the overall cash that I'm making from all the rookies as a combined total. So he's sort of plugging the gaps there. And that's pretty much where my team stands at the moment. So let's get into what I'm thinking early days when it comes to trades heading in to round 6. So again, super early thoughts. But like I was saying, I've started my 2 down, 1 up using my boosts. And it has afforded me 77.5K already in the bank to use as a bit of a springboard for the this coming week. So immediate thoughts, having a look, flicking across to break evens. You'll see there in terms of rookies, Jinbi, as I spoke of, his break even is the highest out of all the cash cows that I've got. He's second highest behind Mackenzie. He's got an 81, projected to go down in price, and Mackenzie even more so. Projected to go down 13.6K if he scores a 59. So the fact that Mackenzie was a sub on the weekend really did halt his cash generation. Despite the fact I would love to have kept him because I do like the look of him. He's a great young player, scored above expectations, but I think it's too much of a risk to hold on to him. He's kind of had an off week every second week. So, you probably could hold him. I mean, he did get that midfield forward DPP eligibility, which provides a little bit of flexibility, but it's not really going to come in handy because I already have the likes of Philippou, who I can switch between forward and mid with any of these guys. And then Jinbi, I think he's probably the one that I'd love to have kept for longer because that output over the first 3 weeks was immense and was great and was making us bulk cash. But the past 2 weeks, and especially being subbed off on the weekend, has put a massive halt on his cash trend. Not as bad as Mackenzie because you'll see there if you can sort 71, whilst he will go down in cash slightly. If you can average 71 over the next few weeks, it'll kickstart his cash generation again. So if you are in the camp of, you don't need to cull anyone, you could probably keep Jinbi. But for me, it's good timing more than anything for me to use him as a bit of a stepping stone. And then using Mackenzie as a bit of a downgrade option as well. They're both around about, between the 250, 300K price range, which is great for downgrading and also using them as a stepping stone to a genuine primo. So those are the 2 guys that are in the gun at the moment. And I am looking to use my boost as a bit of as I said, 2 down, 1 up. I could potentially just use two trades by using 1 downgrade and 1 upgrade, which would afford me, I'd be going Mackenzie down to one of the youngsters, Matthew Johnson from Freo. But let's just jump into it and have a little bit of a play around with it because in terms of cash cows that are on the bubble this week, and we will go into this in a little bit more detail in tomorrow's episode proper, Liam and myself. So you'll see there, Matt Roberts, he's the one that everyone's jumping on. Down here you'll see Matt Roberts is 18.1% most traded in player. So he is one that I'm looking to use as a bit of a downgrade option. Affords me 211k, which I could use to upgrade maybe a Jinbi, but it would have to be someone, beneath the 500k range. And if I was to do that, it's not going to really afford me too much, unfortunately. It will just sort it in terms of total points. So in terms of high scorers, like they're all above 500k. So there's no one that sticks out to me. I mean, maybe Redmond, don't trust him. Again, had it down on the weekend. Ed Richards, again, don't trust him. I know a lot of people have thought about him. Surprised his ownership's only 0.9%. Ridley, I've already traded him out. He's not going to fulfill the promise of what I thought he would be as a potential upgrade. Hayden Young's dropped a lot of cash. A lot of people started with him as a potential breakout option. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So it's not going to really give me enough cash to bring in someone of quality. So what I am thinking of doing is culling another cash cow. And outside of Jinbi and McKenzie, Baker is the one with sort of the highest break even there with 46. So he's coming to the end of his cash generation. He's already made us 128.2k, so nothing to be worried about there. Break even still 46, below his average, so you could probably keep him if you wanted to, but again, I need to trade someone out, so he is in the firing line. Trade him out. And in terms of cash cows, outside of Matt Roberts, I do like the look of Seamus Mitchell. He took a lot of kick-ins, surprising, because I didn't think he was going to be sort of having that role first up. Shows the Hawks have a bit of faith in his kicking ability, taking kick-ins, obviously. But that, as you know, anyone that has kick-ins with Dacos, for example, just easy stats, easy score. So he's someone I'm looking at, but I dislike bringing in players before they're on the bubble. I'd like to see a 2-game sample size, and you'd hate to bring in someone after 1 week when everyone else has waited and they end up getting injured or suspended or whatnot. So he's off the table for me at the moment. He'll be someone to bring in next week. Luke Edwards is too expensive, not going to make him enough cash for us. Tyler Young, again, too expensive. Don't think his scoring ability is too high, but to his credit, he's scoring well enough. And yeah, Matthew Johnson, he's one for me. He, much like Roberts from Sydney, they both started as subs in their first 2 games. They actually, Roberts actually lost about 10k or thereabouts, despite scoring the 90-odd that he did on the weekend. It still kept his price low, and much like Matthew Johnson here, he is only gone up 15.1k. So both of these low scores will fall out of his price rotation over the next couple of weeks, which will, mean that I wouldn't pay too much attention to this. If he plays a full game, you can expect a score around about 60-odd like he did on the weekend, which means that he will go up double what they're projecting there, and it means that his break-even will be, well into the negatives, and he'll make us bulk cash. So happy with him. His job security, I think, is sound enough. Hopefully he showed enough on the weekend to start again. So if he starts as a sub, I'm going to bypass him, obviously. But if he starts in the starting 22 for Freo, I will be backing him in. So he is another rookie that I'm looking to bring in. And then in terms of the bank that this gives us is 620.9k. So I would absolutely have loved to have brought in, swung, just say, for example, Constable back. Swung Zeeble back. And then Goulden goes forward. And then I would have loved to have brought in one of the personal favourites of not only myself, but Liam and SuperCoach Edge as a whole. And it is the man himself, the running man himself, Took Miller. He's dropped 38.2k, but you'll see there a full agonisingly close, but short of getting him in at 3.3k. So I'm going to have to look elsewhere and potentially maybe target him next week and hope that he doesn't go up in cash too much. His break-even is still around about 112. But having said that, he's scored out of the box against North, but I'm just going to have to grin and bear it, I think, at the moment, and maybe wait on, say, a Hopper or someone else to make a little bit of cash to sort of offset the rise that Tookie, the running man Miller, has. and maybe target him next week. My two options that I'm wrestling with are in defense here, going for, where are we? In terms of fallen primos, Jack Sinclair, he's someone that I've had my eye on. Would love James Sicily as well, but he's still got a little bit of cash to drop. He's got a break even of 154 and should drop around about 20k or thereabouts. I expect him to score higher than 90 that he has been scoring. But I'm a little bit worried because he has been playing more as a key position player as opposed to that loose man in defense. So happy to keep an eye on him and wait for him to drop a little bit more and assess after that. But Jack Sinclair, his break even's 113. And he's dropped 79.8k on his starting price, and he's still scoring quite decently. 104, 124, 63, bit of a downer against the Dons. Jumped up again to 113 and 90 against the Pies. I think he was around about on 70 or something on the weekend at half-time against the Pies, and then sort of slowed up and came to a little bit of a halt. So it helped me in the fact that he's dropped a little bit more cash than what I was thinking that he would. So super handy there. So I can obviously afford him, and it does give me a little bit of more assurance in defense. So if I whack him there, it'll leave me 74.5k, and then I can still make some swings and put Jay-Z back there, and maybe bench a Wilmot, for example, or a Michelini or whatever, and maybe even use a Will Day still to screen the scores of one of these guys and see if I take it. Other than that, outside from Sinclair, my other option was to potentially swing Jay-Z back and then bring in another fallen primo in the mold of a Cogs, who's at a juicy price here. He's at a high enough ownership, 18.6%. I feel as though I need to jump on him at some stage. He is, in my eyes, still a top 6 scoring forward. Comes at that discount there, so super happy with that. And he ends up facing Brisbane this weekend and Sydney the week after. So a couple of tough opponents for the Cogs and the Giants as a whole. And those two scores, back-to-back 58 and 71, have really helped drop his price. So, yeah, he's kind of what I'm thinking of doing. Could potentially hold off another week, which I may just do that, or maybe another 2 weeks, depending on how he scores. He ended up scoring quite well on the weekend. Again, this site here, DFS Australia. If you haven't used it before, I always bang on about how good it is, and I will once again. It is amazing. You get CBA numbers, you get kick-ins, you get a full breakdown of team differentials and player summaries and whatnot. So it is awesome. But yeah, Cogs for me, he is someone that I think is, as I said, going to score quite well. But it comes down to his role. I think his role is still quite good. You'll see that he had 84% CBA, so his role's still there. He just, disposal efficiency, again, really let him down, 67%, and kept his score quite low. So nothing to really worry about. He had 33 disposals. So for current owners, don't get rid of him. Don't be silly. Just ride the wave. Unfortunate for you that other people like myself will jump on him, but it is what it is. I'm doing the same with LD. You have to just hold it out, and other people will jump on him at a bit of a discount. But I think I'll probably hold off on Cogs at the moment, just because I think there's more value in sinks. And yeah, I mean, it's much of a muchness because either way, I'm bringing in a primo, whether it be sinks in defense or Cogs in the forward line. It's just pretty much flipping a coin for me. So Jack Sinclair is at the moment, he's the 13th most, high scoring defender. And yeah, he's still going well. I think he's at a low ownership as well. That's probably part of the other reason I'm willing to take a little bit of a gamble compared to Cogs, who's in 18% of teams, that if Jack Sinclair has a bit of an out-of-the-box game, which I'm kind of expecting him to, he's facing my mob in Carlton at the moment, who traditionally don't really play well against the Saints at Marvel. So I'm expecting, I hate to say it as a Carlton supporter, but I'm expecting a loss against the Saints. And we'll just go back to DFS Australia here and check out the defense V position, which gives you a little bit of an insight into what areas of the ground teams give away the most points to opposition players of certain types. And of Carlton, In terms of general defenders, he's probably more of a wing defender actually. So that plays well for Sinclair there. They give up +4%, +4 more points compared to any other team. So they give away the second most points out of any other side to a player in that position, which fits Sinclair's mold. So again, that feeds into that. Again, designated kicking takers as well, which kind of he fits the mold in. Again, they give away actually the second most points to players in that role. So really to back in good old Sinks. I'll just delve back just quickly before I finish up with Sinclair as well. We'll go to kick-ins just to sort of give a little bit of an extra insight into Sinclair. He's taking the second most kick-ins as well. He had it was just between him and Wanganeen Millera. So he had 40% of kick-ins on the weekend. And then in terms of the strange thing with him, and it makes me think there's a little bit of upside there for him, is the fact if we go across to CBAs, and he's actually getting CBAs. So very similar type role to Jordan Dawson from the Crows. He's getting CBAs as well. Probably not as many CBAs as him, but the fact that he's getting time in the midfield as well does bode well that, if they're playing a side and they're being absolutely dominated and the ball isn't getting down to defence, it means that Sinclair's not going to be shut out from being around the ball. The fact that he's getting the CBAs means that he's going to be obviously around the ball a bit more. So it does elevate that floor a little bit more and in turn the ceiling as well. But he does his best work off halfback. So it probably just helps with his floor more than anything. So I like to have players in that have a high floor. So to give you a little bit of a safety net to fall back on, which I think Cogs doesn't really have, as we've seen. His disposal efficiency can let him down at times. So that's probably part of the reason as well why I'm locking in Jack Sinclair at this stage. Like I was saying towards the start of this chat, the 2 down 1 up does provide me not only with an upgrade in that week and provide me with a couple of juicy cash cows to jump on, but also gives me that extra cash in the bank where if we just confirm this here, extra cash in the bank to use again as a bit of a springboard heading into next week where I could potentially target a Cogs, I could potentially target the running man, Took Miller, and go from there. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking at the moment. Again, we'll be using Constable as a bit of a loophole option. Freo play first up, so I'll probably be using Matt Johnson as my emergency. If he scores well enough, leave Constable on field. That is if Constable doesn't come back to the side, which I don't know if he will. Hopefully he doesn't for my sake because he's more use as a non-playing player. And then with Will Day, Hawthorn play kind of middle of the round, so it means that I can use him to, I could screen the scores of, where are we? Either McKenna or Wilmot. Probably in this case it will be Wilmot. So put the emergency on Wilmot. And for those of you who don't know, literally all I'm doing there is Will Day. He's obviously not going to play, suspended this week. I've put the emergency on Wilmot, who is playing before Will Day or Hawthorn. If Wilmot scores well enough, then I will leave Day on field and claim Wilmot's score as an emergency. If Wilmot scores like shit, it means I'm going to have to make some swings and potentially take off Will Day, just as an example, and put Cowan on field and take Cowan score, whatever it may be. But there are some DPP swings and stuff I can do potentially with Day, and I could do a little bit of shifty potentially with Jay-Z when it comes to trades and whatnot to bring him down back if need be. But that's pretty much it. That's where I sit at the moment. In terms of just sort of finishing it off, for the captains, I haven't really looked at it too much. Dacos is playing the last game, as we know, against Essendon Anzac Day. Big occasion. Could score well enough, but I'm probably going to back in Bont first up, plays the first game. Easy sort of VC to lock in. And then when it comes to captaincy, I'm going to have a look a bit more closer into it. So tune into our weekly episode, which will be released tomorrow, our round 5 review and round 6 preview. So Hopefully that gives you a little bit of more insight into the strategies that I'm adopting from week to week and kind of where I'm at, and the climb that I'm making, the ascension to the top, hopefully. So that's kind of where I've been tracking. Started slow, but I am making a little bit of ground. That's the biggest ground that I've made outside of between round 2 and 1. So yeah, we've jumped almost 10K in a week, and hopefully can jump another 5 to 10K this week, and really sort of put us in the top 5K. I'm hoping, I'm aiming for by the buys at the very least. So I'm tracking well towards that, and then making a bit more of a jump as I bring in these extra primos. So that's pretty much where I'm at. Hopefully you enjoyed this extra insight into my team via Damo's Team Talk. As always, if you can like, subscribe, I'll be very much appreciative. But until next time, jump into our weekly episode. And until then, we'll see you same time, same place. We'll catch you then.